Hey, my name is Benjamin and I'm from Switzerland. I've got a background in economic sciences and I'm currently still studying in the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland in my Bachelor of Economic Science degree. I want to join Wagon because I want to be able to build my own tech company, my own tech startup, and therefore get the proper background I need in the area of coding in order to make this feasible.
So my name is Tom and I'm from the UK, but I've been living in Oslo for the last 3 years. So my background is in mechanical engineering, but more recently I've moved into a product owner role within a software division of the company. I joined Wagon to have more empathy with the developers that I work with and to understand the processes behind building web applications in more detail.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Thomas Murray, and today myself and Benjamin would like to present to you our new app, FMEA.lite. But first, I'd like to give you a little context. For the last 10 years or so, I've been working as a mechanical engineer in product design. And when you design something new, the first thing you need to know is what is it meant to do, i.e. what are the functions it is meant to perform. Then in order to ensure you create a robust and successful design, you need to try and think of every possible way that design may fail or fail to perform its intended functions. We call these failure modes. Let's say, for example, that I'm designing a mountain bike. The first thing I'd want to do is define the functions it must perform. So for example, the bike must be comfortable for the rider during an extended off-road trail. It must be able to withstand a moderate, say half-meter, jump with a 160-kilo rider. It must be able to slow down from 30 to 0 kilometers an hour in less than 50 meters, and so on. We then want to go through the functions one by one and list all the potential ways that function may fail. So if we pick one of the functions, for example, the bike must be able to slow down from 30 to 0 kilometers per hour in less than 50 meters. One way that may fail is that the bike braking system can only slow down within 100 meters instead of the 50. Another way may be that the brakes totally fail during some downhill descent the rider is taking part in. And again, the list would go on. We then dive a level deeper for each one of these failure modes we've identified. So let's take the one regarding the bike slowing down. And we begin to predict the potential causes for this failure mode and the effects that they would have on the success of the overall product. We always do this exercise as a team to leverage the collective experience of product experts so that we capture as many of the causes and corresponding effects as possible. So for example, in this case, one potential cause may be that the current brake discs only provide a moderate amount of braking force. And the effect of this would be that the customer is mildly dissatisfied. We receive some bad reviews and potentially have some loss in sales. Now, once we've got all the list of all the potential causes and effects, we need to go on and assess the likelihood that these causes may occur and the severity of that outcome, that effect. So we give them a rating of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, and we multiply their two scores together, and we get a risk priority number as a result. And basically, we do this going through all of the different functions, failure modes, causes, and effects, and then we have a prioritized list in which we can work on to improve our design. This process is formally referred to as failure mode effect and analysis, or sometimes referred to as FMEA for short, or FMEA. And while the structure is really good, the mechanics of the process can be very painful. It often involves a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of old dated software, some pretty slow data entry. And as we normally or do this exercise in groups of teams and experts, we always do this in meetings. And these meetings can go on for a very long time, and they usually involve one person populating the data. And this, of course, eventually leads to people losing interest, focus, and ultimately becoming disengaged. So we set out to try and address this. And we did that by developing our new collaborative FMEA.lite. So we're now going to give you a product demonstration. So when you open our tool, you're greeted with a landing page explaining that we're trying to help foresee future design problems and gather collective past experience. We point out to the users that you're able to collaborate in the cloud and that we're able to generate documentation automatically with the click of a button. We have some product videos and demonstrations on the front page. And now I'm going to log into the site and land on my FMEA dashboard. So this is the dashboard that my team will be using. So I see all of the FMEAs that my team have produced. And here I can see their title, the risk matrix, a summary of the key statistics, and some actions that we can perform for each of those FMEAs. So things like sharing direct links or downloading and deleting. Our user might search for mountain to filter from this list. And they try that again. And we see the mountain bike FMEA. And now we can open this FMEA and have a look at the page we land on. So here we're greeted with the main FMEA page containing a tree structure of all the functions, the failure modes, causes, and effects. There is a description of the product in the header and an image carousel containing product images and useful engineering diagrams to help facilitate the process. So we can pop those open and see a bigger view. So for example, we may have a diagram of the bike containing some key dimensions, something that would help us identify potential failure modes. So as we scroll down the page, the header automatically collapses to give a nice big working space. The user can interact with the tree, and dynamically, the view will focus on the elements that are selected, shading out the others and giving so that your attention is drawn to the items that you're working on specifically. Also, the actions menu in the top left that is pegged to the top of the screen will update and show the actions available to each one of the elements that you click on. So we now browse down to the bottom of the page, and we see our familiar example. We should see our familiar example, that the bike must be able to slow down. And I'll now go and add a new failure mode by selecting the function and clicking Add Failure Mode from the Actions menu. And I'm going to put in a failure mode that the brakes totally fail during a downhill descent, sorry. Now that our setup is done, we can go and launch the collaboration mode in the top right-hand side. And this environment was specifically designed to facilitate the collaborative meetings between team members. It allows all participants to share their ideas and insights real time to a common screen. The functions and corresponding failure modes can be navigated using the selector at the top of the screen. And a link can be easily shared to colleagues to get everybody onto exactly the same page. This will be copied to your clipboard automatically. This could be shared over Zoom or Slack or whatever messaging application people use. When the user adds their potential cause or effect, it will be seen on the screen instantaneously. So let's do an example now in front of you. So we currently have a couple of users actually on this screen. And I'm going to start by just adding in a new cause, which could be that the customer forgets to adjust brakes after removing and reinstalling the front wheel. And meanwhile, another colleague of mine is thinking about the effects, and they decide to go and add one to the list. And we can see that the one effect may be that the rider is badly injured. So that doesn't sound too good. Then we continue to add more causes. So we could say that the brake fluid pressure is lost due to a failing mechanical component, one example. And again, maybe another colleague is thinking about the effects, and they're also adding another one on the right-hand side. And if you see on the right there, that immediately jumped into the screen while we were working on the left-hand side. And finally, we'll add a third cause to the list, which is the brake lever shakes loose after an extended operation. So we have a collection of causes and a collection of effects. And now as a team, we can discuss these ideas presented by different team members, and we can go through and provide a likelihood score or an occurrence to the causes. So we might say for the top one that maybe, okay, so this could be fairly likely that someone forgets to do this. So it's maybe a 3 out of 5 in terms of the chance that this could occur. For the other two, it's probably a bit less likely, so we'll probably go for a 2 out of 5 for both of those. Meanwhile, for the effect on the right-hand side, I think the rider being badly injured is probably pretty high, so we can set that to a 5. And maybe for the last effect, the customer losing trust in our brand image is damaged for many years. That's probably a bit worse than the rider being injured, so maybe it's a 4 out of 5. And what you'll notice is that in the top right-hand side, the RPN, or the risk priority number, is being calculated real time based on the worst effect and the worst cause. So now we've done the assessment, and we want to decide what to include inside the final tree that we saw on the previous screen. So let's take the first 2 causes and the first effect. So we're going to take these top 3 items. Okay, now we can navigate back to the mountain bike FMEA overview. And if we browse down to the bottom of the screen, we can see those newly added causes and effects to the failure mode: brakes totally failed during a downhill ascent. We can also hover over those severity scores and see a tooltip explaining what that actually means. And if we do one for the cause as well, we can see that a 3 out of 5 results in about a 1 in 50 chance of this occurring. So we've got a nice sort of user-friendly description of what that score actually represents. So after finally reviewing the FMEA, we decide to scroll back up to the top of the page, and we can download the document to an Excel file at the click of a button. So you see it downloaded, you can immediately open it, and we can get the full FMEA presented in a more traditional format as an Excel sheet. And we believe this is very valuable to our end users because documentation is important both in product design, but also to submit to various international standards and all sorts of other reasons. So having a documentation in a traditional format but generated at a click of a button is a really convenient feature to include inside this application. So after completing my work, I can navigate back to the dashboard, and I can notice that the statistics for the mountain bike have been updated. And I can browse back to the home page using the menu in my avatar. And from Benjamin and myself, we'd like to thank you for your time. And if there are any budding product designers or other engineers out there who wish to give our tool a try, then please sign up today and begin creating your FMEAs. Thank you very much.